All right, so you guys know me. I'm Cassie Viella. I'm a realtor, property manager, and investor here in San Antonio. And we go through this little market update to start off our meetups. So COVID is doing, I guess COVID is not doing well because um, it's going down. So San Antonio is, they have the ranking, green, yellow, red. And today, when I pulled this up to screenshot it, I saw that we're in the green and it's a safe. Of course, still stay home and everything, but much lower rates than we have in the past. So, really excited about that. Hopefully, that continues. I know they're starting to let kids go back to school. So, hopefully, they're doing that in a good way that's going to keep this downward trend. The eviction moratorium, I expect that we will talk about this quite a bit. On the 4th, this order went into effect. It was kind of a surprise to most people. This allows renters to basically not be evicted if they are unable to pay rent because of COVID. Not that they have to have COVID, but circumstances preventing them from being able to pay their rent. So this is effective through the end of the year. So I was kind of digging around on it because obviously everybody wants to know, what does that mean? Because the language is really, really vague. It's very hard to tell, to predict what is going to count, because it says things like, renter has to make their best effort to get government assistance. Well, what does that mean? Renter has to pay some kind of partial payments if possible. What does that mean? So it's going to be a mess trying to figure out what this executive order actually means and how to enforce it. But just so we know what it is, the tenants have to fill out this declaration form from the CDC. And so it's a 2-page form. I just copy and pasted the sections of the form. So you're basically having to attest that all of these are true. Again, without, none of us really know how you would prove or disprove any of that, but this is what it says. So one thing to keep in mind is that this does not preclude them from paying any like late fees or from paying rent eventually. So you still, it's not sort of a like no rent, you can live for free card. Although, I mean, I suspect some people will try to make it that. But it's important to remind people that like, hey, you're still going to have these fees due eventually. So pay as much as you can. I think this is the time where landlords really have to work with tenants because now, they can kind of stiff you and be difficult. So it's really important to those sources that I've given in the past that show all of the ways to get assistance, to send that out to tenants and say like, hey, you're having a hard time. Here's where you get funding. Like, here's where the city has some money set aside for you, and help them apply for that. And just be really, try to be helpful and understanding up front, just to keep the relationship positive. I think that landlord, the tenant landlord relationship is, historically pretty full of conflict. It's kind of this us versus them, and we need to be the landlords who change that and say, okay, we're going to work with you and we're going to do our best and we're all going to get through this together. I think that's the right way to approach things. That's certainly how I'm approaching things with my tenants. And then I would make sure that you have reserves to cover the mortgage through the end of the year. You should always have reserves if you own a rental property, but just make sure that if you can pile up some cash, just being ready for that in case it takes through, if it ends December 31st, evictions aren't going to be really happening until late January, February. So make sure you have several months worth of mortgage. Okay, here's our showings. They are, so if I didn't put the 2019 comparison on there, it might look kind of worrisome because it drops off quite a bit. But you can see this is the very normal drop off that we see just starting the year. School has started, people who were going to move have moved. And so we're kind of going into the little bit slower fall season, but you can see we're a lot more active than we were this time last year. And the same goes for rental showings. Home sales, we had that, the tick up that we always do at the end of the month, everybody trying to get the closes in, and then the downswing the next month because all of those got closed. And so that's a typical, you can see each month pretty much there's kind of a little spike in decline. And then the price still continuing to slowly, well, I guess not slowly, but steadily increase. This one was 275,000, I think, was last week's median price. Okay, and here's the new data from the San Antonio Board of Realtors of all of these are on rental units, the following charts. So here you can see that we did have a booming summer, and we kind of declined a little bit in August, but I don't think it's anything to be super concerned about. I think there just may be less rentals on the market. They might have gotten filled in those really, really busy months. Rent price is just continuing to go so high. It was $15.91 was the average rent price last month. So that to me just sounds so high for San Antonio. And if you've owned property here for a few years, that probably sounds pretty high to you. The properties that we bought just a few years ago the rent has gone up, in some cases $200, $250 just in a couple of years. So it's really surprising to me. I guess the home prices have gone up so drastically that it makes sense that rent would follow. But you can see the comparison in August to last year, and just how much over even in just 1 year it's increased. And then the days on market have continued to go down. It's just been a really hot market.